Remain seated, please. Permanecer sentados, por favor.
Matterhorn Matt presents Matterhorn Mondays.
Welcome, everybody, to episode 88 of Matterhorn Mondays. I am your host, Matterhorn Matt.
And I am your host, Alex the Historian.
And today we are joined by a special guest, T-Will, who you all probably know from the chat, being in all the live streams and from the Discord. So, T-Will, why don't you give everybody listening and watching at home a big hello from the Matterhorn Mondays podcast?
Hello, everybody. I'm T-Will. I tend to hang out in Discords, do memes, and then get some news out there.
Thank you, T-Will, for joining us today. And I can't keep up the way that I'm talking like that for... Jeez, it's just like wearing me down. But anyways, hello, everybody. Episode 88 of Matterhorn Mondays. Am I like too dark? I feel like it's not bright enough. That's better. Okay, so that's too bright now. Alright. So I said this before we started the stream. My mic may or may not have fell out because it's like held in. There's like this pole that goes into the microphone and then that goes into the what is this even called? Like the arm, I guess. That holds it there. And last night I was playing Overwatch and it fell out. And it took me forever to get it back in. So right now it's just like hanging on there, like just barely. So if you hear like a loud clang, and if I just randomly stop talking, excuse me, then that means
you're dead.
Yeah, it means either I died, or it would mean that my mic fell out again. And just putting that out there for those of you guys. But this episode is sponsored by all of my patrons. Patreon.com/MatterhornMatt. I've said this the past couple weeks. I'm going to be getting some pins ordered very soon once I have some art drawn up. I got my first paycheck the other day from my new job, so that's pretty cool. Well, I'm also going to be working on...
Wait, T-Will, am I the only person that can't hear Matt? Because I can't hear him at all.
I can hear him.
Wait, can Alex really not hear me?
Talking.
Hello?
I feel like he's messing with us.
Wait, can you not hear me as well, Alex? Alex?
I don't know if you guys can hear me, but I think there's something wrong with my internet, but I don't know for certain because I have no problems with the internet right now.
Oh my
we
gosh.
can... Oh no. Oh no.
Alex,
oh, man.
no. Alex, he's dying.
We can hear him,
Okay,
but
I
he
hear
can't
you guys
us.
talking right now, but I'm just afraid it's just gonna like cut out again. Like,
Well, hopefully not.
it's really weird. Like, I'm not having any problems with my internet. It's just that my connection with you guys on Discord is just not like 100%.
Interesting.
It's weird that it's coming from you because I thought I would have it, considering that's going to be storming around here because Louisiana.
Well, anyways, Alex, if for some reason you miss what we say, just go ahead and say, like, oh my gosh, my internet just pooped out. Can you repeat what you said, Matt, or T-Will? And then we'll go ahead and repeat it for you. But hopefully that won't happen. But yeah.
Okie dokie.
All right, Alex is here right now, and like I was saying, I'm working on some patches. I got an idea for like a dad hat, it's hard to explain. You'll have to see once I actually get the products done. We also have a Discord server. Actually, not discord.com/MatterhornMatt. Link to the Discord will be in the description below. And for those of you guys watching live, you can do !Discord, !Patreon, or !Donate to get links to all these websites that I'm telling you about. I also have a Twitter and Instagram if you guys are interested in that. Links below. And if you're looking for more family-friendly live streams, you can head on over to theliveplace.com. Link is in the description. Really great website run by a really awesome dude who hosts a bunch of other Disney streamers. Go ahead and check that out down below. And we don't have any birthdays today. Very sad. Or I guess I should say no birthdays this week. But if you would like to have your birthday... If you'd like to be wished a happy birthday live on stream on the podcast, on the best podcast in the world, you can head on over to the description to find the link. You can also do !birthday, and it'll bring up the link if you're watching live. last but not least, be sure to head on over to iTunes to leave us a review. Leave this podcast a review, you guys. It can be 5 stars. It can be 1 star. It can be 1.5 stars. It doesn't matter. Yeah, go ahead and head on over to that. And I'm really thirsty right now, so we're going to get on to... Oh, before we start, I would like to give a big shout-out to Steve, because Steve sent me this amazing Dumbo mug. Here, let me switch so I can see, so I can make sure. Steve sent me this Dumbo mug, and it's like sweating right now because I have ice in it, which is not ideal. I'm going to go ahead and wipe that off, but yeah, it's a Dumbo mug, and he also... I don't know if you guys can see this, probably not. He got me this magnet as well, this Dumbo magnet. So big shout out to Steve, who I don't think is here at the moment. Very sad. But anyways, we're going to get with Matt Snaps, because I'm thirsty, you guys. It is hot here in southern... Oh, I popped it. I'm sorry. It popped. I couldn't get the ASMR, but anyways, I'm going to go ahead and pour this. And today's real fact is number 352. Storm clouds hold about 6 trillion raindrops, you guys. That's more raindrops than I have gone to Disneyland. I don't know what I'm trying to say. Steve in chat. Thank you, Steve. And I would also like to showcase you something, everybody. Oh my gosh. Was it just me, or did T-Will sound like Iron Man there?
It sounded like that to me, too.
Okay, T-Will's gonna fix his internet while we get on with the show, but I remember, I'm sure you guys remember a while back.
I'm having problems too. I've even like closed my internet.
Interesting. I hope I don't have any problems. I haven't had any problems yet, but I'm sure you guys remember a few weeks me saying that I'm the biggest Dumbo fan out there. And I did something today, you guys. I would like to show you guys. I got a Dumbo tattoo on my arm, and I would like to show that to you guys right now. I'm going to go ahead and stand up and try and position myself while also not knocking down the microphone. Let me switch to the full webcam, actually. That's not... Okay, I'll just go back, because that's not... Okay, anyways. So, it's kind of bloody at the moment, but you can see it there. If you can hear me, I think it's real cute. Looks real nice. It'll grow in, of course. My first tattoo. Also, I got another one right up here, my logo. If you can see that as well. I hope you guys are proud of me, because, I don't know. It didn't hurt that much. But, yeah, so now I can, whenever someone asks me to prove if I'm the biggest Dumbo fan in the world, I can, like, whip out my wrist, and then they'll be like, oh my gosh, Matterhorn Matt, you weren't lying when you said you were the biggest Dumbo fan in the world. But anyways, we're gonna get right into this week's, my favorite segment, News from the Peak, you guys, because we got a lot of great news to get to today. Let's go.
We now present to you News from the Peak.
Alright, for our first bit of News from the Peak, Disney unveils their new Flex Annual Pass that has seemingly replaced the Southern California Pass. And I would like Alex the historian, since he's the one who first informed me about this, and when he was explaining it to me, I was kind of very confused. Granted, I was at work at the time and couldn't fully read the messages he sent, but I would like Mr. Alex the historian to explain to all the Mountaineers what exactly the new Flex Annual Pass is.
It would be my pleasure. Okay, so the Flex Pass is a very simple concept. Basically, for $600, you can get a pass. Excuse me. You can get a pass that allows you to pretty much have the option to get into the park any day of the year, except for about 15 days total where you're blocked out. I'd say around like Christmas time. And so other than that, the rest of the days are pretty much available. Now, the interesting thing about this pass is that for most of the months, there is a period in the middle of the weeks, like the weekdays, where you have what's called good to go days. And those days are exactly as they sound. You can enter the park and just like any other annual pass holder. But the weekends and other busy days that are marked in blue are days that you have to reserve. to get into the park. So basically, I think you can reserve as soon as the day before you go, all the way up to 30 days in advance. That's the maximum limit.
I thought it was
And
Tuesday.
you can reserve up to 2 reservations in a single 30-day period. Now, the interesting thing, though, is that within that 30-day period, if you go to your first reservation, that knocks that reservation off the 2 reservation limit. So that means that you can make your third reservation as soon as you finish the first one. That means that once you're signed into the park in the morning, you are free to make your third reservation for that month. That 2 reservation per 30-day limit isn't so bad, considering that a lot of the days in the week are already good to go days. So it's not like you have to make a reservation every time you go. You can also supplement with days that are already good to go that you don't have to make a reservation for. However, there are days, like for instance this summer, because of Galaxy's Edge opening, there are like 2 or 3 months where it's solid must make a reservation day. So that's where it gets kind of tough, because then you only get 2 reservations in a 30-day period up until you use your first. So for someone like me, if I wanted to use it, I could probably get away with 3 visits to the parks within a 30-day period, which isn't ideal for me, but it's not so bad, considering the fact that Disney has kind of stopped doing the pay per month kind of thing with the other passes. Yeah, so basically,
I don't know why.
You know why? It's because they want people who do the pay by month to get the flex pass, because they want to even out the crowds. They want to make it so, like, I hate to say it this way, but we're all thinking it anyway, but they basically want the poorer people who have to pay by month to get the cheaper flex pass, so that way their frequency of visits is more controlled and tamed. You know what I mean? This is Disney's way of trying to control how many people visit the parks at a single time. So for the company, the benefits of the Flex Pass is that you get more even crowd distribution throughout the year. And by evening out the crowds, technically you make the parks slightly less crowded every day, and that means that people can enjoy themselves a little bit more. I'm not saying it's going to be perfect, but it's a better ideal version than what we're going through now. So anyway, the Flex Pass will be available on May 21st, and frankly, because Disney no longer has the pay by month for the other passes, this looks like a good option for me this August when I have to renew my pass. If they still have the SoCal Select Pass, I'll consider that. But from what I saw yesterday when I checked the website, they didn't have the SoCal Select Pass as an option. So we'll see what they do in the next couple weeks. But yeah.
All right.
I guess this is mainly because they, all the how uneven the annual pass holder is in California. So, worth seeing how things will go forward.
Yeah. Oh, did I mention that the Flex Pass is available to be paid monthly for people who live in Southern California?
Oh, and it's not for people out of state, so it's pretty much the same for how it was before.
That's standard for annual passes. Okay. That's true for both resorts.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Well, thank you, Mr. Alex, for explaining the Flex Pass. I'm still very confused as to what any of that means, but
do you have any specific questions? Because there might be people who have that same question. I can answer it.
So from my understanding, I don't want to linger on this for too long, but from my understanding, you can still visit the parks like normally if you have an annual pass, right? But there are some certain days throughout the month that you have to make a reservation to get into the park, right?
Yes, and that's
Okay.
so mainly like Tuesday through Thursdays, or even sometimes Monday through Fridays. Those weekdays are usually good to go, so
Oh,
you can
okay,
just
okay.
pop into the park without a reservation. But the busier days of the month, such as Friday, Saturday, Sunday,
Mm-hmm.
possibly even sometimes Mondays, those days will be reservation days that you can only go to the parks on those when you have a reservation.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I
All right.
understand now. Thank you, Alex, for explaining that. I don't know why, like, the concept, like, hearing reservations was, like, just completely threw me off. But, yeah, so that's the Flex Pass. And our second bit of news from the Peak comes to us directly from Walt Disney Studios themselves. Disney has revealed, or I guess unveiled, their film slate from 2020 all the way to 2027. And I would like to read to you guys, excuse me, I'm about to burp. Alright, excuse me. I would like to read to you guys some of these movies that Disney has in production. Now, this is not just Walt Disney Pictures, not just Walt Disney Animation Studios. This is Disney Animation, live action. This is Fox as well, now that they're, a part of Disney. This is, I believe Pixar is here as well. Yeah, Pixar's here. It's not listed separately. It says Disney, but, yes, so of course we know Aladdin comes out 5/24, May 24th, so that's pretty close. And of course everybody's favorite, Dark Phoenix, X-Men Dark Phoenix, that's going to be a big movie, you guys. I'm being sarcastic. Comes out on I feel so dumb saying this. I can never remember if the month 6 is June or July, but it's June. I see here on my calendar. So June 7th is Dark Phoenix. And one notable film to mention. I'm sure you remember us mentioning the Artemis Fowl movie that Disney was making. Well, according to them, it's been pushed back to May 29th of 2020. So for those of you Artemis Fowl fans, I'm sorry, you're going to have to wait, guys, one more year. And yeah, so there are a lot of unnamed Disney movies. There's an Untitled Kingsman movie coming February 14th. New Mutants, if you guys have been wondering where the heck New Mutants was, because that movie is like, we could like do a topic all about New Mutants, but I feel like a lot of people wouldn't find that interesting. It's been pushed back several times, and the current release date they have here is April 3rd of 2020. And the Jungle Cruise as well. What is 7? 7 is January, February, March, April, May, June, July. 7 is July. July 24th is the Jungle Cruise. Let's see. I'll have all these linked down in the description below. But another notable one, July 17th, Bob's Burgers. They're going to make a Bob's Burgers movie, you guys. That's going to be awesome. I'm a big fan of that.
Woo!
Let's see. Going into 2021, a lot of unnamed movies. A lot of unnamed Disney live-action movies, unnamed Marvel movies. Untitled Indiana Jones movie comes out on July 9th of 2021. Avatar 2 has been pushed back as well to December 17th of 2021. I believe it was supposed to come out earlier in maybe 2020 or 2021. I can't quite remember. But yeah, Avatar 2 is pushed back. And another interesting thing to note, there is no from what I can see here, unless I'm completely missing it, there are no Star Wars movies after Rise of Skywalker comes out on December 20th, up until, where is it? Untitled Star Wars, up until 2022, December 16th of 2022. So for those of you guys deciding or not to believe the rumors that Disney was putting the brakes on Star Wars after the new saga was over, here's your confirmation. A whole 2 years, 3 years even.
Wait, Matt,
Yes.
did you hear the announcement that Disney made?
What announcement? I don't think I did. What announcement?
There was a tweet that was going around Discord, and Disney had announced that they're going to make like another 3 Star Wars movies, like part of the saga.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw that going around. It's, but I think specifically, it's like we're taking a little break in between
Yeah.
compared to what they were attempting beforehand, like pumping them out every year.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, yeah. The tweet said that the first of the next 3, which would be like episode 10, 11, 12, that episode 10 would come out in 2022, and then the next one in 2024, and then the last one in 2026.
Okay.
I'm not sure if that's episodes or if that's or if that's just a whole separate trilogy. I think they've been, at least the rumors I've been hearing is that they've been pretty much the Skywalker saga completely over by Rise, and then after, so this might be like a separate trilogy on its own.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because they still do have Ryan Johnson that he's supposed to be making. I'm not sure. Yeah, it does say Untitled Star Wars.
It's either that or creators of Game of Thrones.
Yeah, that one too. And of course, there's still the TV shows that are going to be coming to Disney Plus later this year. What is it? The Mandalorian, and there's another one starring everybody's favorite character. What is his name? Like Cassian Andor or something from Rogue One. Everyone's favorite character, you guys. I'm also being sarcastic there. But I'll link this tweet down in the description below for everybody here to sort of look over, because there's a lot of movies. I'm going to count, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 movies Disney is releasing in 2020. So I honestly don't know how to react to that. There's also a lot that's been released already for 2019, but just looking at all these movies that Disney is putting out, not just Disney, but Fox as well, Pixar too. It's pretty crazy to see. I'm going to be waiting to see how much money they make these next, 5 to 10 years after the Fox deal comes out, with them releasing all of these movies for Fox. So it'll be interesting. But last movie here, Cruella, you guys. I guess it's supposed to be like an origin story of Cruella de Vil. December 23rd, 2020. That's going to be probably really bad, but I'm excited to see it nonetheless. And
maybe if they got like a cameo of Glenn Close in there, maybe I'll consider it, but other than that, no.
Yeah, and like I said, there are a lot of untitled Disney live action movies. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of those in 2021. Whether or not they're live action adaptations of original, animated classics, or if they're, different, based off different books, I don't even know. So it'll be interesting to see. And I do believe that does it for this week's segment of News from the Peak. And now we do have everybody's second favorite segment, or our first favorite segment, depending on who you like better. We have Alex in the Parks. Alex in the Parks, and we're going to be playing a clip that Alex sent to us. And I have a feeling this is really zoomed out, so I'm going to fix this really quick. I'm all out of sorts today, you guys. Like I said, it's been a long day. I had to use the Chick-fil-A restroom. It was clean, but talk about, Chick-fil-A. I'm really tired of Chick-fil-A. Anyways, all right, we're going to get into Alex from the Parks. We're going to play this clip that Alex took a few days ago inside Disneyland, and then we'll discuss it. So here we go.
Okay, so we're here at this little area, this little break that they created in the planter here, and I see that they've installed some of the new railing and welded it to some of the old railing. So they haven't concreted the railing in yet. There's still like a hole where the railing sticks into the curb. But yeah, this will be really cool. I think trash cans will probably go right here, so that way it doesn't get in the way of the walkway. But yeah, this work is almost done. Okay, so we're about to get a closer look, but basically the tower right over there has had its scaffolding and everything removed, and it's all ready to go. And then on that side, we're going to get a closer look at that because all that's been uncovered as well. And there's even a nice big turret over there that we can get a good view of. And then, of course, like I said, the very top is uncovered as well. I'm actually certain that by like Monday they might have all the scaffolding down. I'm not sure, but there's certainly a lot of paint work going on this morning. There's a lot of railings around the hub and stuff that they're repainting, but there's also this. So remember a few episodes ago I was telling you about how this bench wasn't painted yet? Well, looks like they are in the process of painting it. It looks really, really beautiful. I mean, just absolutely gorgeous. Okay, here we are. Excuse me. Wow, looks like they've really repainted everything. See that turret back there? They unveiled that a couple years ago when they did Princess Fantasy Fair Village, and it hadn't been painted since, I believe, at least the 80s, if not the 60s. So, but they have painted it. So the little spire at the top has been painted and everything. So this wall is repainted. Looks really nice. There's a color difference. You can see right along that line there that the color on top is darker than on the bottom. But I think that's only because they haven't finished painting the bottom yet. I think that it's actually still in progress. So, then there's that right there. We'll stop right there because I think that's a good view. So, you can see the color scheme. There's a nice vibrant pink and there's like really vibrant blues and stuff. And more over here. Looks really amazing. I like what they've done.
Through the construction of the tower.
It's starting to rain here, so I'm going to make it quick, but they've uncovered all the buildings here in Frontierland. They've just received a repaint, and right now painters are finishing up some touch-ups or some last-minute details. But it looks really nice and vibrant. There was rumor that they were actually like taking out some of the planters around here, but actually it doesn't look like they've changed anything when it comes to the planters. But the buildings are really nice and vibrant again. They were looking kind of shabby before, but I just assumed that was because it was the frontier. Well, the new expanded queue area for Peter Pan seems to be working out okay. Although, I must admit, even though they expanded it by several feet, it doesn't look like it's actually taken people out of the walkway very much. So we're back on the hub, and I just realized while I was walking here that they actually pushed these construction walls back a little bit, and they've actually uncovered the new walkway here. You can actually see that they've dropped the curbs. So I remember saying that a few episodes ago that, oh, I bet they're dropping the curbs here so that way people don't trip, you know, because during fireworks and stuff it gets really crowded and people trip and fall. So now there's literally no curb that you have to step up onto from over there by Tomorrowland all the way around here. And then they're dropping the curbs behind that wall too, all the way down to that corner. So literally the whole outer side of the hub is losing all of its curbs. But in any case, the brickwork looks really nice. And once it gets weathered in and stuff like that by nature, it'll appear a little bit darker, a little bit, it'll look nice.
Okay, well, that's that. Thank you, Mr. Alex, for recording Alex in the Parks this week. And I feel like it's worth mentioning.
My pleasure.
You brought it up in the video about how the paint schemes on the castle were like almost different. You could see like the line. I thought that was interesting.
The new paint really has this vibrancy to it,
Yeah.
and like this kind of depth and vibrancy that I really like.
Yeah, it's really great. Like, I mean, I know that there's a difference in the color, but once again, that's just because they hadn't finished with the final touches of it yet. So like what we were looking at there was like the raw bottom coat of paint where they just put the basic color, which is really bright, but they make it really bright because the coats of paint that they put on top of it, which weather it, which give it depth, those coats of paint make the natural brightness look darker. So that's why the bottom coat has to be a lot brighter. So they do things like they have like a technique where they take different colors of paint, they put it on a paintbrush, and then they spray it like onto the wall, or they might even have a machine that does that, but that's how I would do it. I would put it on the tip of a paintbrush and then like fling the paintbrush, and then you get these little dots, these little speckles all over the place that make it look like what you're looking at is stone. It's made of rock, you know. And then lastly, they put a type of weathering over it to make it look like it's aged, so it doesn't look like it's a solid, you know, like a solid color necessarily. Makes it look like it has depth. So that's what makes the brickwork look really dark and stuff like that. So that should get finished within the next few days. So it'll look nice.
Yeah, you know, I think we said this in the past, but I really do love that these little changes that they're making. It's still gonna take a while to get used to having no curbs around the hub and like in other places on Main Street. It's gonna take a little getting used to, I guess. But you know, the paint scheme looks great. It's really purplish. I always figured the castle would look more blue than purple, but it looks nice nonetheless. We'll see how good it looks once they take the tarps off. And
you know what's funny? I remember the first time they were installing wheelchair ramps along Main Street. I was a little kid, but I remember it, and it's just like really weird to have that memory, like because I remember what Disneyland looked like without wheelchair ramps.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna be remembering.
Yeah, it must have been pretty weird, you know, to be like take a big step and then it's like it's not there.
Yeah, we're gonna be the ones remembering Disneyland before there were no curbs.
Remember the fallen.
Remember the fallen. Anyways, that is gonna do it for this week's segment of Alex in the Parks, and we do have a lot of great stuff to get into, so we're gonna move right into this week's main topics. But before, very briefly, I promised you guys no more Galaxy's Edge talk this week and the next. Maybe not the next, this week for sure. But I would just like to showcase these images of our good friend Mr. Bobby Iger in Star Wars Land in Disneyland, taking pictures and selfies with here we have Kathleen Kennedy, we have Steven Spielberg, we have J.J. Abrams, and of course Mr. Bobby himself. This looks really awesome from these pictures that they've put out, because I believe these are like the first, like, I don't even know what to call these pictures, like guest style pictures that guests are going to be taking once they visit Galaxy's Edge, because from what we've seen so far, it's been like flyovers, aerial pictures, you know, from helicopters, and of course we get the occasional B-roll videos. But you know, this is looking really okay. That's the next topic, but these are looking really nice. I especially like this one of Bob standing in the middle of the walkway, almost like, hey, I built this place. J. Abrams like trying to snap a quick picture of him. Yeah, Tiwa was pointing out on the Discord, where's George Lucas? That's the whole sort of conspiracy we have here, because we have Steven Spielberg, but not George Lucas. Very, very
There's
interesting.
a later picture of Scott Trowbridge, the guy who pretty much designed Galaxy's Edge, but the man who came up with all of Star Wars.
Yeah.
The one that, you know, if he didn't think it up, none of this would happen. We wouldn't have this $1 billion investment, and he's nowhere to be found.
Yeah, that's sort of like I don't know if it's like a conspiracy or not. Maybe they didn't want him there. I mean, obviously, I'm sure that's not true. I just like coming up with crazy conspiracies. I mean, I'm sure, what's her name? J.K. Rowling was there for the opening, or at least, you know, for like behind-the-scenes stuff for Harry Potter Land and Universal. But yeah, very interesting.
I also wanted to add, in one of those pictures you see the Millennium Falcon, and you'll see around it is this themed barrier.
Yeah.
And I just want to say I told you so, because I was telling everybody they're not going to let anyone near that thing, because they don't want anybody to carve their names into it. Like, oh, you know, like Matterhorn Matt was here, you know, like,
yeah.
Because who doesn't want to leave their mark on the Millennium Falcon? You know what I mean?
Exactly, yeah.
So it's like, I kind of knew that they would probably keep people back somehow in order so that way people can take their pictures, but the pictures aren't ruined by like 1 million people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
At the same time, this is, and within the Star Wars universe, the Millennium Falcon's a piece of junk. So it's like, why would you keep people away from it?
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of,
Yeah.
I mean, just whatever kind of small detail. But anyways, we're gonna move on from
Yeah,
Galaxy.
yeah, of course. It's just fun to think.
Because people, we've heard your complaints, you guys, about talking about because I think we've done like maybe 5 or 4 episodes in a row of just like non-stop Galaxy's Edge rumors and like news. But we're gonna move on from that because we do have a lot more interesting stuff to talk about this episode. This one topic was brought to my attention by T-Will himself, who is actually in the show with us, you guys. So that's pretty cool.
Hello.
So I'm gonna go ahead and let you guys read this post here. But for those of you who don't want to read, I'm gonna read it over. This has to do with the Eastern Gateway. If any of you guys remember, it feels like ages ago the Eastern Gateway was announced and then canceled by Disney. But I'm gonna go ahead and read this post. I believe this is from Mouse Magic. That's not what it's called. It's like Magic something. Star Magic, the forums. It's got the word magic in it.
WDW Magic.
That's it. WDW Magic.
It's the Disneyland forum within it.
Not Mouse Magic, which is what I thought it was.
No. This ain't mice chat. There's less cynicism here.
Yeah.
Surprisingly.
Yeah, I've noticed that with mice chat. But anyways, I'm gonna read this post to you guys. This is from Dark Beer 1. Not sure if that's his real name or not, or if that's his real picture in the profile picture or not. I don't know. But it does say under his name, well-known member. So, again, take this with a grain of salt. This is all just speculation and rumor coming from Mr. Dark Beer. But let's see. I'll go ahead and read this for you. He says, I guess I can say the priority to expansion is dealings with Anaheim and nearby cities. I can tell you that there is not just one master plan, but they do have an Anaheim/nearby cities wish list. Later this year, Disney will file the minorly, revised Eastern Gateway plan, and depending on how it goes, Disney would love to shuffle things around. One big issue is the Toy Story lot, which is only temporarily zoned for parking. Parentheses, he says, it is still zoned for agriculture. On parentheses. He then says, if that can be worked out, that is another major puzzle piece. Disney is looking for more space away from the resort for BOH stuff. Not sure what that stands for. If anyone here can step in and bring me up to speed on what BOH stands for.
Back of house.
Back of house. Is that like backstage stuff, I'm guessing?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll start back. Disney is looking for more space away from the resort for back-of-house stuff. They have talked to a property manager for a large property near me. I'm guessing that's where he works or where he lives. I don't know. Think I-5 in Mongolia. I'm not sure if it has gone any further than the first talk, but does show Disney has been looking. He then goes on to say, Disney is also watching the situation with Angels Baseball in the case that fails to be worked out. And then he says, personally, I'm 90% sure we'll go through. And so, yes, a master plan would be wonderful, but the Western structure/hotel changes messed up a bunch of plans, and everything has been in flex mode since then. But in Disney's mind, any theme park development will only be in the current Disneyland Resort-specific plan land. So the key is to move as much as possible to other locations. So, kind of, again, take this with a grain of salt. I don't really know who this Dark Beer one guy is. None of us really know who he is.
Within the forum, he has a bit of he seems to deal with city council workings and so forth. He seems to be part of a committee. So, but generally, like when it comes to like city politics and stuff like that, he generally is very knowledgeable in it. So I would say it's at least there's obviously one person, not 100% confirmed, but something like this is at least worth talking about, discussing, and it has some weight considering his credit in the forum.
Yeah, because I'm sure you all remember how sad Alex and I were when the Eastern Gateway was canceled, because we were we were some of the people who were really pulling through for that project to go through. It would have been great, if you don't know what the Eastern Gateway is, it was basically, how do I even explain it? Basically, Disney wanted to, honestly, I can't remember how to explain it well to you guys. But if you don't know what Eastern Gateway is, you can go back to, I believe it was like our very first episode of Matterhorn Mondays, where Alex and I talked about the Eastern Gateway and some other stuff that I can't remember, to find out what exactly Eastern Gateway was. But yeah, really great project. Really sad they canceled it. But Alex, what are your thoughts on this interesting development coming from WDW Magic forums about the Eastern Gateway possibly coming back?
Well, I certainly hope it's true, because we still really do need a type of Eastern Gateway project of some kind.
Mm-hmm.
You know, hold on. Toulouse, down. Toulouse. Okay, sorry, there's a cat trying to attack the kitchen. Okay, so we really need an Eastern Gateway. Like, right now, what we have on the eastern side when it comes to security check is a brand new security booth, which is really nice. It's got, it's got 24 or 26 metal detectors, which is twice as many as it used to have. But the thing is there's still not enough room for people to line up and wait to get into Disneyland. What we do need is a new place for shuttles to drop people off, get people through even more security scanners and things like that. So anyway, hopefully this thing works out, and hopefully it works out in a way that pleases the nearby businesses. That way they don't try to block it.
Yeah.
Well, even if they tried to block it, I think this is something that I've been thinking about. Again, say politics with Disneyland. I think because of the bite that they kind of got from the more scrutinizing council, they knew they couldn't really. They had to kind of play it back, kind of do stuff, and that kind of I imagine the Fourth Hotel debacle kind of played into their plans. So like, all right, we'll kind of calm down, and then we'll kind of prop some pro Disney guys to get back in there.
Yeah,
that way we can kind of get this ball rolling again. So I think that's kind of what's been going on. And now that they, at least last I checked, they do have a pro Disney city government in Anaheim, it seems like now they feel more comfortable to be like, okay, now we have this, we're going to move on forward.
Yeah, and I don't know. Rob Plays, when he was on the show a while back, I referenced this quote a lot. He said something along the lines of how he was excited to read the book that's inevitably going to be written about this era of the Disney parks, and I feel like this would play a big part into, this hypothetical book. I'm really excited. I really do hope the Eastern Gateway does come back, in some form, even if it's not the original. Maybe, I don't know if they'll keep the overhead sort of walkway, that idea that they had. I feel like that was one of the big...
I think last I checked, it was like very slightly, like it was like minorly revised to be like, hey, we revised it, and then that was just about it, but it was mostly the same last I checked.
Okay, well that's good to hear, because I did really, like I said, I was a big fan of the Eastern Gateway, and we will be following this very closely. This is just, some post by Mr. Darkbeer1 on WDW Magic, but we will be following this very close. If there are any new updates regarding this, we will update you guys, but we do have a couple other big topics that we want to get into before the show ends, because we are on a time limit here. For our second topic, you guys, this is really... I don't even know how to begin to explain this. So basically, new blueprints have been unveiled for the Spider-Man attraction coming to Disneyland Paris. Not technically Disneyland Paris, Walt Disney Studios Park in Disneyland Paris, because as you know, they're also getting a Marvel-themed land, along with, I believe, Hong Kong, and of course, our California adventure. And these blueprints do reveal, as you can see, this is sort of the rendering that they have, that Disney made for the outside, I guess, the building itself that's going to house this Spider-Man attraction. And this comes to us from Outside Ears. Big shout out to them on Twitter for unveiling this, because these were public, I believe. I believe in Paris, Disney does have to publish all of their plans beforehand. All other major construction plans like this beforehand. So this was, public on maybe some government website, maybe. I don't 100% know. But yeah, big shout out to Outside Ears for bringing this to us. So basically what you're looking at here is Disney's rendering, very crude rendering. Yeah. Oh, is it fan rendering? Is it? Okay.
Yeah, it's a fan rendering. This is just to get a pure idea off of the permits and all that.
Okay. Well, that's interesting then. Okay, so this is just a fan rendering. Well, this is basically what the building that's going to house the Spider-Man attraction will look like. As you can see back here, there's a Tower of Terror over in Walt Disney Studios Park, and we're going to move on to these images that, you know, the blueprints themselves, the meat and bones of this, you know, not necessarily leak, but this reveal from outside ears. So what if you look at these blueprints, and of course they're in, you know, French, so you'd have to like translate them, I guess.
Matt, could you send me a link to those or something so I can see them?
Yeah. Here, I'll actually send them in. I'll send the pictures themselves here. Let's see,
Okay.
where are they saved? I'll send them. All right, here we go. Maybe Alex knows French and he's gonna translate for us. Just kidding.
We.
Well, I could pull up the Blog Mickey article that kind of did a bit of translation to kind of get some things here and there, but I could also read it. And well, I don't read French, but I could piece some things together based off of just certain words.
Here, I'll bring up the Blog Mickey here article that they have. But yeah, so this is basically the meat of the reveal here. Let me try and find this. It should be back in last week somewhere. 300 posts on this website. Dang. All right. Anyways, so let's see. Now, what can you? And I guess the main question is, what can you infer from these images? And basically, you know, what you can infer from these images is that you can see the winding, you know, sort of path here, the ride vehicles, sort of a stop post right here. Tell me what this reminds you guys of. What is this ride layout, the ride vehicles? They look familiar.
Carousel of Progress.
Oh, it's not Carousel of Progress.
No.
Wait, are you literally asking us, or are you asking the
No,
viewers?
I'm asking the people watching. But yeah,
Okay.
what does this whole layout remind you of? Someone already said Midway Mania. Yes, this is basically, you know, it's hard to tell from these initial blueprints what this ride is going to be, but from looking at these blueprints, it does, you know, remind you of Toy Story Midway Mania. You know, the ride vehicles.
I can tell you right here, right now, there is no room for actual like show elements. It's all going to be screens.
Yeah. So
Yeah, because I do remember at least a defense of like, well, maybe they'll like maybe have some more practical like show elements, or maybe do more dome stuff. I'm not sure if that's really going to happen. This is overall a very interesting project overall, because it depends on how you look at it. Because for Disneyland Paris, it's actually not a terrible idea, because they actually don't have Midway Mania. So bringing this tech over there is not too bad of an idea. The problem is that Disney likes to clone, and when they clone, in recent times they've done carbon copies.
Yes.
So with it coming over to California, that's not boding well.
Yeah, again, you know, the only logical conclusion that you can make from these blueprints, because we do know that this ride is coming to Disneyland Paris, and we do know that we are getting a Spider-Man type attraction to California Adventure, and from what T-Will just said, Disney does love to clone their attractions. It is looking, you know, at least from the initial your initial looks at this, it does seem like Disney would clone this attraction to California Adventure for Phase 1 of Marvel Land, which, you know, brings in a whole different discussion. And I'll link the Blog Mickey article down in the description for you guys, which I do believe, like T-Will said, translates a big part, or I guess sort of gives like a guideline of what everything is. So
yeah,
there are other blueprints of the outside of the attraction, the building that will house it. But yeah, like I said,
I can guide you a bit through I can do a bit of guiding a bit through at least the main show building a bit.
Okay, let's do that.
So on the right you see that's pretty much where the queue is, and that's where, and you see that square That's where the extended queue is.
Yes.
All the way to kind of in the middle right there. So you snake around, then you get in, and you'll have two pre-show buildings, two pre-shows. So it's saying up the story of like, hey, you're here, we can test out this new stuff, and then maybe Mysterio comes in and starts wrecking stuff.
Yeah.
So now you have to move forward and then get onto the ride, do the Midway Mania stuff, and then you head out and into the gift shop. That is extremely weird. I want to add that because in recent years, Disney has been making an effort to not actually do that. Like, when was the last time that they purposely built an attraction where you are forced into a gift shop? Because the last one I can think of is like Astro Blasters.
There's Star Tours in
Star Tour. Well, it was generally that was the exact same ride. Some but like the only one recently is Flight of Passage. But you could just ignore that. You can literally go right and completely skip the gift shop if you want. So that's a little bit of interesting. So I just find that completely odd that they're going back to that. There's also a single rider line on the far left of the of kind of the entrance part. There's a single rider, which I don't think there is one for either Toy Story Mania. So that should be that should be interesting and helping out with some capacity. As I'm looking at this again and again and again, it just reinforces this that I've gotten from the project, and that is, we don't care. Like this doesn't feel like Disney's top priority. This doesn't feel like that they're putting their all into it. It doesn't, it's like A team's working on Star Wars, their B team's working on like maybe some Tron and maybe taking up some other ideas.
Yeah.
The parks. C team's probably doing some maintenance stuff. This feels like the E team, not even the D team, the E team coming in and being like, it's like college interns coming in and being, hey, can you design a land? And they were like, here you go. Good. Good, we'll ship it out. I don't feel any passion. Like, Star Wars definitely has that passion.
Yeah.
Pandora,
exactly.
I get that passion, but not Marvel. Like Bryce said, this doesn't feel like Stan Lee's baby. Like, there's no, but it feels cold. It feels cynical. It doesn't feel magical to for lack of a better word.
Well, I guess one thing to bring up is that you did say that Disneyland Paris does not have a Midway Mania style attraction, so maybe they were thinking, this is a really great ride. Midway Mania is a really great ride. A lot of people like it. The wait times are always really long, and maybe we'll go ahead and bring it over to Disneyland Paris. But this is not to the extent that you'd think they'd bring it to. I mean, you'd think they just clone Midway Mania like they have in I believe there's one in Hong Kong or in Disney
Tokyo.
Sea. Tokyo.
It's in Disney Sea. It's pretty much, it's like Splash Mountain. It's in the U.S. parks and then Tokyo. But when thinking about this, so this is actually something that we've talked about a bit, in which we like it when Disney kind of makes their clones or copies kind of more different. Like an Indiana Jones versus a dinosaur compared to for comparison, Tron Light Cycle from Shanghai carbon copied over to Magic Kingdom.
Yeah.
So this is interesting. It's more the implication, at the very least, that they're going to come to that this is going to copy cloned back to Disneyland, and that is the more troubling thing if we are to follow Disney's recent patterns. But this won't be the first time actually that Disney has copied a Disneyland Paris ride and brought it over to California. You want to know?
Oh, I feel like I know, but I can't think of it off the top of my head.
Tower of Terror.
Oh,
it was designed for Paris.
Yeah, that's right.
And it came, and then they brought it over to California. It was designed for Paris, but because DCA 1.0 was DCA 1.0, they copied it over before Paris could even get theirs.
Yeah, I guess that is another great point to bring up. That Tower of Terror was copied from a Paris to California Adventure. That is, I completely forgot about that. So that, I guess, not necessarily gives more merit to the fact that Disney's going to be cloning this attraction to California Adventure. I'm not saying that. I mean, it could, but it probably has no correlation. But it will be interesting.
No, it's no correlation. It's just funny.
Yeah, but it would be interesting to see how. I'm really. I don't want to use the word excited. I'm excited to see how this plays out. Not in the same way that you guys might be excited, but I'm excited to see how... And I don't even know. I get a lot of flack for what I say about Imagineering on Twitter and stuff like that. And I tweeted this a while back once these permits first came to be. If this does end up being true, if Disney does copy this Midway Mania style Spider-Man attraction to California Adventure, which already has a Toy Story Midway Mania attraction, then I don't know, I feel like that'll be the last straw for me when it comes to Walt Disney Imagineering. I mean, you could point at things like, of course, Star Wars Land, which is, this big, huge experience that they've built it up to be. And then, of course, Pandora as well, which was sort of like almost like testing grounds for Star Wars, maybe. Pandora's still great from what I've seen from the people who've been to it, who've told me about it. And then...
It's fantastic.
Yeah, well, Go ahead.
Well, I was just saying it was fantastic. Flight Passage actually wasn't a big fan of, but then it grew on me, and I really realized how great the land is. But go on.
And then, like you said, it's almost like Disney has, I think you said like E-Team or whatever on Marvel Land. Well, like you said, A-Team is Star Wars, B-Team, I don't know, Tomorrowland, Fantasyland, which we're gonna get into after this. So stay tuned. We got a lot of juicy stuff to talk about, but I will go ahead and, for now, I'd like to plant this benefit of the doubt in your guys' mind as well, because DSMI Newscast, he made a video about this recently, and he pointed out the fact that if you look at the blueprints for Flight of Passage and compare them to Soarin', you'd automatically assume that Flight of Passage is a Soarin' clone. But once the attraction was actually built, you come to find out it's almost nothing like Soarin'. It's a completely different experience. He said that to, applied that logic to the Spider-Man Midway Mania style attraction to Midway Mania, which is, a fair defense for Disney, because you can't necessarily infer how an attraction is going to be just based off of the blueprints. But I mean, when it comes to Flight of Passage and Soarin', there are so many different possibilities that you can make story-wise, experience-wise. I mean, if you compare the two attractions, they're nothing like each other, just besides the main ride mechanics themselves. But with this, it's just screens. With this, it's just, shooting guns or whatever. Maybe you'll have like web slingers attached to your wrist, which would be cool, I guess. But there's really no other variation you can go when it comes to these Midway Mania style attractions. It's just gonna be, you're gonna be flung around in your ride vehicle, and you're gonna be shooting things on the screen. That's all it is. And you can theme it to whatever you want. You can theme it to Toy Story. You can theme it to Spider-Man. You can theme it to Star Wars if you want. It's all going to be, it's going to be the same. There's going to be barely any differential between the two. And, again, I could rant on this for a long time, but we haven't heard from Alex in a while. So, Alex, I'd love to hear your thoughts on whether or not this would be cloned to DCA. And if it does end up being cloned, what your thoughts on that would be as well.
Oh, I think without a doubt they're going to clone this ride and put it in DCA. It's a no-brainer to me, because honestly, if you look at the space that they have to work with, which is the Bugs Life show building, it was a large theater, but some people forget how small of a floor space theaters can be when you compare it to the size of a ride show building, and on top of that, like, even though they're building out an extra square footage to the building right now, it's not enough. So I think that the best thing that they can fit in that spot is this exact clone of this ride, with maybe a slight variation in the shape of the building. But when it comes to what I think about it, it's hard for me to say, because I remember back when they were building Midway Mania, I was like, oh great, a screen ride. You know what I mean? But then, like, when I saw what it was, I was kind of like, okay, like it's a Midway game. I could get into it. It wasn't it because it was a Midway game, it didn't need to be a fully immersive world. You know what I mean? And I think that the way that they could go with this Spider-Man thing is maybe like a training course. I don't know.
Yeah, that
like,
yeah.
Because I mean, you don't want to put people in like real danger. You know what I mean? Like,
okay, yeah.
There's like certain things like I'm trying to think like what would there's an example of a ride, but I can't think of it at the moment, so I'll just save you guys the time. But yeah, there's like certain rides that Disney has built where like it simulates like being in the danger, but they openly tell you you're not in real danger.
Mission Space.
Is it? Is that Mission?
Yeah, Mission Space does that at Epcot. You're technically a trainee when you're heading on to your mission to Mars.
Right, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, so you could be a Spider-Man trainee. I don't know. or maybe Spider-Man takes you through his little training regimen that he does. I don't know.
Okay, I'd like to throw this out there. I'd like to throw my hat in the ring and predict what the quote-unquote plot of this ride is going to be, based on what Alex just said, because what he just said sparked something in me. I'm predicting this ride, the pre-show, the whole ride is going to be built up to you, like Alex said, training with Spider-Man, testing out, maybe you're like testing his new web slingers or something, and like I said, maybe instead of like guns like they have in Midway Mania, they'll have like web slingers that you can maybe like strap onto your wrist or something to shoot at the screen instead of having the guns to shoot at it. I'm predicting that that's going to be the whole buildup of the ride, but during the pre-show, they're obviously going to have like some sort of TV screen with, Spider-Man giving his spiel, hey guys, I'm Spider-Man, and you guys are going to be training with me in my brand new headquarters. I guarantee to you guys, some Spider-Man villain, whether it be Mysterio or the Falcon, not the Falcon, the Vulture, or any other, B-list Spider-Man villain, is going to like swoop in while the pre-show's playing, and like, I can't like articulate it correctly, but from then on, after the pre-show, you're actually going to have to help Spider-Man defeat this villain instead of just be training. Like, the whole plot is going to flip around on its head from Spider-Man being like, oh, hey, you guys are training with me, to, oh my gosh, this villain just came. Mysterio just came and is wrecking the whole building. You guys need to help me save it. I'm predicting that's what this is going to be. And I would like to... I don't know. I'm betting a large amount that I'm right. I don't know. I feel like that's something that the WDI could come up with, and they'd think that's a good premise for the ride. Which, it sounds like a decent premise for the ride for Paris. But if you put this, like I said, if you put this in California, it's just not. I don't know. I said this before. This is like. They're really cutting it close for me of whether or not I'm going to have more faith in Walt Disney Imagineering in the future if this ends up being true, if they end up cloning this, which I know sounds like a stretch, but you have to look at it, like the big, you got to look at the big picture. Sure, this could be a great ride. Sure, it could be well-themed. Sure, it could be a really fun attraction that people in Paris are going to love. But if you look at it in the grand scheme of DCA being almost like the ugly stepchild of Disneyland, where they just throw in whatever attraction will draw guests over there, they did that. They threw in Midway Mania to the park, and that drew more people there. They did that with Tower of Terror too. They did it with Cars Land, which, you know, Cars Land is great. Not throwing any shade to them, but come on. There has to be some sort of line that you can draw, that they have to draw in the sand. If they think putting two identical rides in the same park, maybe only 100 meters away from each other.
Well, this is also we're dealing with Head that literally we've completely changed up one of the more popular rides at the park just because he wanted to market it. So
exactly.
So this is not outside the realm of possibility, and also this, along with like the small news of the Lion King show right in front of Pixar Pier, just shows me that they just do not care about DCA. Like it's like how Hollywood Studios kind of suffers the same thing, where they're just kind of throwing stuff at it, but it feels like with the umbrella of you're going into the movies, that it can kind of get away with it, and they still keep stuff like Tower of Terror, but with DCA, they just do not care. They just don't.
Yeah, and I feel like we should move on from this topic. We've presented you guys all the information. I gave a short rant. I got very heated in the discussion there. But we'd love to hear your thoughts on this. I know this is a very, divisive, is that the right word? This is a very divisive topic to bring up. But we'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on this. I really would love to hear what you guys think about this in the comments below. And we're not saying 100% it's confirmed that this is coming to DCA, but like I said, if you look in the grand scheme of things, copying Tron from Shanghai over to the Magic Kingdom, I believe they're also copying the Seven Dwarfs Mine Train to another land, or maybe it was vice versa. Disney is known for doing this, and so I guess we'll see. But moving on, we do have a very interesting topic, bits and pieces of topics that Alex has brought to us. He sent me he was very excited when he sent me this message. So I'm going to go ahead and read off what we have here. So basically, these are new rumors that we've heard from, the sources that we have regarding the future of Disneyland, from the Tomorrowland redo to the Fantasyland expansion. And I'm going to go ahead and read off, because Alex very nicely put these bits of information into nice bullet points for me to read. So thank you, Alex, for arranging them in a way that I could understand. So yeah, we're going to get into this because I'm very excited to talk about this. We talked about it last week or the week before, I think. But here we go. Our first bit of rumor / new information that we have. We talked a few weeks ago about a Tron Light Cycles ride coming to Tomorrowland. Now we're hearing the Tron ride we've been hearing about will be a mix between the People Mover and the Rocket Rods. You get on it and it weaves through Tomorrowland like a roller coaster while still taking you through show scenes. And Alex goes on to mention testing has been done to see if the Tron track can go around Space Mountain. However, Disneyland management wasn't happy about getting something Tron themed because Walt Disney World is already getting it. So this is the exciting part. If this ends up to be true. Alex goes on to say, so whatever this ride turns into is up to Imagineer Joe Road. Is that how it's pronounced, or is it Roadie? I think it's Road.
It's Joe Road, yeah.
Roadie, okay. Wait, you both talked over each other, and I couldn't hear. So
Joe Roadie.
Roadie, okay. Thank you.
I always heard it was Joe Road.
I always heard it was Roadie.
I've heard it both ways, so.
Well, guess the only person that does know is the man himself.
Yeah, Joe, if you're listening, please tell us how to pronounce your last name. I'm just gonna say Roadie. I like Roadie. The rest is up to Imagineer Joe Roadie to dream up. That gives me a lot of hope because I'm sure you remember a few weeks ago, we sort of covered this fresh-baked video that Dave put out on his second channel regarding some high Imagineer. He didn't name the Imagineer specifically. Some Imagineer that is up there with Joe Roadie, who was overlooking all of Tomorrowland on the People Mover tracks, and a lot of us were sort of inferring that was Tony Baxter, because he's one of the greats. But you know, if this rumor that we're hearing ends up being true, it might have been Joe Rohde and Joe Rohde, I don't know, Joe Rohde instead of Tony Baxter, which is great. You know, they're both really amazing Imagineers. I'd love to have both of them work on new Tomorrowland and Disneyland. So we'll see from that. Second bullet point: testing was done over Autopia just last year to get an idea of how tall a certain show building might be. It's believed to be a frozen show building. Third bullet point: it's believed that an official announcement for the Fantasyland and Tomorrowland refurbs will happen during the 2021 D23 Expo. And then here we have some dates that are estimated. Spider-Man Ride, Phase 1 of Marvel Land, coming in 2020. Fantasyland refurb, 2021. Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, 2022. And Marvel Land Phase 2, 2023. What is this, the fifth bullet point? The most popular ride of the Tomorrowland redo wouldn't be Tron, but a new Space Mountain with an extended show building for projection effects. And I believe that's it from for Tomorrowland and Fantasyland. Sixth bullet point, I think. Pixar Pier will continue to grow, with Coco taking over the Mermaid Ride. Other reskins in place for amusement rides. Paradise Pier Hotel, or I think it's still called Paradise Pier Hotel, is being considered for a complete redo. And last but not least, since we are getting a different type of ride system for Tron, we may be getting a duplicate of the Shanghai WDW Tron coaster, but themed to Marvel for Marvel's Phase 2. So, it's a lot of stuff to plop on you guys. So we're going to go over it one by one. Alex does have to leave here in a little bit, as do I. So we're going to try and make this brief. So, we talked a couple weeks ago about the rumors we heard about the Tron Light Cycle attraction coming to Tomorrowland, and I believe it was sort of inferred that it would go, you know, basically in the spot where the Carousel of Progress launch bay building was. But from this, it sort of seems like it might not be in that location, because it does say it will be a People Mover style attraction, you know, Rocket Rod style attraction, that weaves through Tomorrowland. So this could be the new People Mover we've been wanting. It might not be the People Mover we wanted, like the Walt Disney World People Mover or the original People Mover. But according to this rumor, it will be a People Mover style attraction that gives you views of Tomorrowland, weaves through the parks, you know, with show scenes attached, which is very exciting for me. I know it will be exciting for a lot of you if this ends up being true, because the People Mover is like the top of literally every Disney fan's list for Disney to bring back during the Tomorrowland refurb. So let's just start there.
There's a lot of confusion as to, like, wait, what is this? Is it a People Mover? Is it Rocket Rods? Is it even Tron? What is it? Mm-hmm. And as from my understanding, it's not going to be themed to the movie Tron. It's going to be something else. We don't know what it is yet. But the other thing, too, is that as to what type of ride system it is, there's no clear-cut answer. But what I've heard is that it's going to be like Rocket Rods in the sense that it takes you around Tomorrowland and is thrilling, but like the People Mover in the sense that the loading area the vehicles never stop. They keep moving along the loading area. So it's supposed to be like a high capacity ride, unlike what Rocket Rods was. So that's my understanding of it. Of course, that could be interpreted differently had someone else been given the information. But yeah, so yeah.
This kind of reminds me of the. Do you guys remember the old Tomorrowland 2055? Concept art. Mm-hmm. Do you see like what the People Mover stuff up there looked like? That's kind of the vibe I'm getting from this idea. So maybe they're pulling that from there. I don't know, but it sounds exciting. You know.
Yeah, that is a good point to bring up about that. Those you guys all, I'm sure you all know those pieces of concept art that were. That are available online. I'm going to bring up one of those pieces of concept art because it's Tomorrowland 2055 concept art, just so we can give you guys an idea of what this was. Because I feel like it's misinterpreted a lot of the time, this concept art is. So it's these sort of. It's this one. There's this one, and there's another better view of that. There's this one, of course, at the entrance of Tomorrowland. From the research I've done about these, I could be completely wrong. I could be completely wrong about the research I've done, but from the the research I've done, this was concept art for, I think it was like Shanghai or something, but then it does look weird with this piece of looking like the entrance of our Tomorrowland. So like I said, it could be interpreted both ways. I've still not necessarily pinpointed exactly what that was, because I have heard differently, but yeah, that is.
Plus, the other thing too is it's not gonna. This new ride is not gonna use the old People Mover track. It's gonna be an entirely new track after most of Tomorrowland is completely demolished.
Mm-hmm.
I think you'd have to do that, considering like new OSHA regulations, ADA regulations, and so forth.
Yeah.
And specifically for Disneyland's People Mover, it would be a complete nightmare to rework into something like that. So
yeah, it probably won't even be called the People Mover. It might have the word People Mover in the name, but there might be like another main name for it. So yeah, that is very interesting. Also, you guys brought up the demolishing of Tomorrowland, which is probably the most likely scenario that's going to happen when they end up redoing Tomorrowland, demolishing everything, but parts of Space Mountain, because we do bring up here on our third, fourth. Where was this part? Well, it was brought up that where is it here? Oh, okay, the fifth. The most popular ride of the Tomorrowland redo won't be Tron, but a new Space Mountain with expanded show building for projection effects, which is sort of kind of like how it is in Paris with their Space Mountain. They have projections and really cool sort of props in there.
The small question I have, if you could clarify, Alex, with the Space Mountain, will it be pretty much? Will the ride stay the same? It's just the building and the projection effects be the new part, along with like maybe a pre-show and all that?
From what I've heard, it's gonna be a complete like gutting of the building. Like they're gonna keep the dome, but they're gonna gut it, and they're gonna get rid of the surrounding buildings that are attached to it in order to rebuild a whole new building, which will house a more traditional looking roller coaster in the sense that there's an actual like train with several cars attached to each other, and it has really big loops and big turns and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So more along the lines of the Space Mountain in Disneyland Paris.
Yeah.
And from my understanding, it will have much better like projection effects, like in the sense that you won't be aware that you're riding right next to a big projection screen. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like it'll be projection effects, but it'll be well integrated. Everything will be dark. Everything will look nice. And then because the dome of Space Mountain itself is not quite big enough for such a thing, they're going to use brand new buildings that will surround it. They'll be they won't be very tall, but it will give more square footage in order for them to do some corkscrews and things like that.
I kind of don't. So they're gonna have little small buildings in there.
That's interesting.
The same. It'll be the same height as the buildings surrounding it currently. It's not gonna. They're not gonna be so small that they can't put anything in there, but they're not gonna be so big that they're gonna overshadow the size of Space Mountain. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So and then of course, from my understanding, those buildings as well will also be dug about 20 feet underground, just like Space Mountain is.
Okay.
Well, if I to get a small attention, I'll keep it brief. But I really don't like how Disneyland Space Mountain specifically is kind of designed with the small buildings and so forth. And it's because it looks like the dome is pretty much like a top hat for those little areas. It's not like Disney Worlds or even Tokyo's where it's like it's a full building through and through, and so it looks cool and all that. It's just whatever. It doesn't have it doesn't have the connectedness of a full space building. That's just kind of a me thing, I guess.
Yeah, no, well, that is also interesting to bring up because Space Mountain is sort of a tricky ride that they have to deal with because we know the People Mover tracks do go through the Space Mountain buildings, and as they do go through pretty much every other, building in Tomorrowland, so they'd have to, like Alex said, gut the entire thing if they want to add new, show scenes, new projections, whatever they want to do.
And
they're going to have to do that.
And there's going to be an indoor queue with pre-show and everything, so...
Yeah.
What would Space Mountain need a pre-show for? Like, are they going to,
Yeah, I don't know.
What type of thing would they do there? Unless they're doing, unless they're permanently changing it into hyperspace. I don't
No, it's not going to... I was specifically told it was not going to be Hyperspace Mountain, and I was reassured it was not going to be... it was not going to be themed to Marvel either. So, because Marvel is getting its own coaster. So,
yeah.
But as far as I know, it's retaining its Space Mountain theme.
If you can even call it a theme, almost. As long as they keep that original, safety video that they play, right at the entrance when you go into the building, I'll be fine with it, because that's a real nice vintage video that I enjoy watching every time I go.
You mean dated?
What's up? You cut out when you said that.
You mean dated?
Oh yeah, I mean it's really dated. Yeah, I will give it that. But it's nice to look at. I like the guy's voice who does it, and it's nice to see all the the cheesy effects that they do. But someone mentioned in the chat if they'll remove the Nemo Lagoon. From what I understand, they're not necessarily gonna remove it. They may remove Nemo from it entirely and just keep it as just a pretty looking lagoon, maybe even reduce the size of it to some extent. That's just from what I understand.
That's exactly what I heard from my sources, is that the exterior lagoon is just going to be there for show. Mm-hmm. But an interesting idea that they threw out, which I'm not going to say was something that they heard, but I think it was an idea that we both had at the same time, was, well, as you see in the notes, it says that Pixar Pier will continue to grow with Coco taking over the Little Mermaid ride.
Yeah.
I have a feeling, because the Mermaid ride is super popular, so I have a feeling they're going to be bringing Mermaid to Disneyland, possibly perched on the side of the old lagoon.
Which would be perfect.
Yeah.
But if they do that, then wouldn't that cut down more on Arendelle if they were to do that?
Yeah, and again, like I said, it's just an idea that I threw out. I'm not really sure what they're gonna do with Mermaid. We don't even know if it's coming back. So
yeah, I am a big fan of the Little Mermaid attraction. It's one of my favorite movies. It's my mom's favorite ride, so I'd hate to see it go. She'd probably get really sad if it went. But it would be a really neat idea to put it on that lagoon, sort of with the castle or whatever there. But yeah, it would sort of maybe encroach on Frozen Land or Beauty and the Beast Land, whichever one they do.
I don't think it's going to be Beauty and the Beast in the slightest. I think it's going to be Frozen. Frozen 2 is coming out, so...
Yeah, I mean... Well, anyways, we could go on for a while about that, but someone also said in chat, Nighttime Parade. I don't think I've heard anything new about that. We might hear some new stuff soon. Not really sure. But let's see, what else were we here for? It's believed that an official announcement for the redo will happen during the 2021 D23. So I think it's important to...
Yeah. Oh, who should go? Who should talk?
I guess I'll go. I'll make it brief, and then you can say what you have to say. So I think it's important to sort of lay out the timeline that we have here, because we do say 2021 D23, and the dates that we do have set here in the notes that we have, dates estimated are Spider-Man Ride 2020, which is the first phase of the Marvel Land, Fantasyland Refresh in 2021, Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway in 2022, Marvel Land Phase 2 in 2023, Now, it's good to note that the Fantasyland refresh is not the Frozen Land that we're talking about. Fantasyland refresh will most likely just be, redoing all of the classic dark rides that we have in Fantasyland more, bringing them more up to date, like with Peter Pan and with Alice in Wonderland. That's the Fantasyland refresh in 2021. And then after Marvel Land Phase 2 in 2023, then we'll be seeing the Tomorrowland. I do believe Tomorrowland will come first, or at least some portion of Tomorrowland will come first, and then the Fantasyland expansion, because you can't build the Fantasyland expansion without getting rid of the submarines, Autopia. You gotta close, Autopia to build anything there. You gotta demolish Autopia.
To elaborate on that before you change something else, but to elaborate on that, a lot of people, not just me and my sources, but a lot of people who've heard of this stuff are also thinking that Tomorrowland will be done in phases in order to prevent a full closure, because nowadays with the parks being so busy, they literally cannot afford to close a whole land all at once. So we think that the Tomorrowland will be done in small little increments. The first being the closure of the submarine lagoons, the Autopia, and the monorail, in order to start work on the Fantasyland expansion. Once they start, once they've cleared out those 3 rides, then they're probably going to start working on other parts of Tomorrowland at the same time as building and constructing the expansion to Fantasyland.
Yeah, so I just felt like it was important to throw that out there, because I know people would get confused about the Fantasyland refresh in 2021. That's not the Frozen Land or whatever other expansion they're doing. That's just with the dark rides that they're doing. And let's see. I feel like there's more that we have to say regarding a lot of these things, so we'll go to the next bullet point. I don't really want to talk about Pixar Pier, because it's just, Pixar Pier.
Trash.
Yeah, trash. To put it bluntly, yeah. But anyways, let's see. The most popular ride of the Tomorrowland redo won't be Tron, but a new Space Mountain with an expanded pre-show, or expanded show building for projection effects. So I do agree with what T-Will said. It does kind of look weird for Space Mountain to be surrounded by all these buildings here. Sort of, what did he say? It was like the top hat
of all these little minor buildings.
Yeah, and a large portion of these buildings are not. I don't want to say like not in use, but they're not. Well, I guess I don't know any other word to use.
It was all. It's kind of one of the more tricky designs that happened with Tomorrowland, in which everything was designed with a specific purpose, and when that purpose faded away, they were left with a huge problem.
Yeah, exactly, because you had Star Tours, of course, or Inner Space, whichever. People Mover, which went through all of these buildings, like I said. It goes through Space Mountain. I don't know why it says Hyperspace Mountain here on Google Maps. We've said this before, but the People Mover tracks are embedded into these buildings, so you'd have to tear them down to get rid of the People Mover tracks, not just the ones that are out in the open out here. But yeah, you'd have to demolish all these buildings. So, and I guess the one thing that's really getting me excited is Joe Rohde, if that's true or not. Him, coming up with this new People Mover style roller coaster, rocket rods, whatever attraction.
Could you also show people the doodle I did? Because
yeah. I forgot about that.
Now, the only reason why I want you to show them is because of the monorail route.
Yes.
That's the whole reason why I did the doodle, was in order to show people what the new monorail route would look like. I mean, I would like to say that if they end up doing exactly what we were saying about destroying the monorail track, this is the most likely route that they would create. And so the surrounding buildings, which I doodled also, were it's nothing more than a doodle. So I don't want people to think that, oh, this is what I heard, like this is what the buildings are going to be and stuff. I just did it just to show people what the new monorail route would look like. And basically the monorail would come in from from around the entrance of Disneyland and then start making its way into Tomorrowland by crossing over the entrance tunnel portal to the Grand Canyon diorama. And because the entrance tunnel portal is such a long, dark tunnel, people wouldn't even see the monorail going over it. But it would come in from there around the gap between Pizza Planet and Innoventions building, which would be different in the future. And then it would start making a right-hand turn, a very big right-hand turn, through the center of Tomorrowland, and then making its way to the current monorail station. Now, the reason why the monorail station is not, I'm not mentioning it being moved, is because a lot of people believe the monorail station itself is listed. See, the monorail is listed under the National Historic Engineering Landmarks list, and so technically the monorail cannot be altered because it's a historic landmark. But I do believe that Disney is allowed some liberties with the monorails in order to keep them functioning. You know what I mean? So I think that they've been granted some liberties with being able to reroute the monorail as long as they keep the monorail running. So as far as I know, though, the station itself is not allowed to be altered. So so as far as I know, the current monorail station will always be the monorail station.
Well, that's interesting because I didn't know you said it was like not national parks, but like...
No, it was a National Historic Engineering landmark.
Well, that's pretty cool. Anyways, yeah, so I completely forgot about this doodle Alex made. Real nice. As you can see in red, the monorail, and of course the Disneyland Railroad. So yeah, I guess you guys... I mean, we all knew it was coming once these rumors started coming in about a Fantasyland expansion. You had to know that the monorail was going to be shortened. Whether that'll make you sad or not, I mean, the monorail will still be there. Just to, in a smaller capacity than how it is now. I'm just glad they're not getting rid of it entirely. Which I guess wouldn't make any sense if they would get rid of it entirely. But, it's just a fear that I have because you've seen the things WDI has done to the parks nowadays. Anyways, what else is there? I think we covered everything, unless there's something I'm forgetting. Joe Rohde, Autopia, testing was done. Well, I guess another question that we have, and I'll make this brief, is whether or not Autopia will stay just smaller Autopia, or if Autopia is going to be gone completely. Because
from what I heard,
gone.
Yeah, from what I heard, all my sources are telling me that Autopia is going into history. It's gone because even if they made it a really small, very short Autopia ride, it's still a big waste of space because it's just not, it just doesn't align with the Tomorrowland idea anymore.
Okay. Well,
no, that's the remaining Tomorrowland opening attraction.
Yeah.
Going the way of the dodo. That's a weird feeling. Not as weird as Great Movie Ride, because that's where it's the last opening park attraction ever. There's still plenty of opening day attractions. Disneyland is just for Tomorrowland. That's it. Everything's gone.
Yeah, it is kind of like a farewell. I bet they're going to make a lot of merchandise, so, in the context of that, of it being the last opening day Tomorrowland attraction that's going to be going. But I guess the one defense I was going to bring up was the fact that everybody thought that the Tomorrowland would be going away in the Magic Kingdom when they were going to be building the Tron ride, but they ended up sparing that. They ended up sparing the Tomorrowland Speedway, but that won't work here because there's more space available in that corner of the park in the Magic Kingdom. Where here, you're boxed in on all four sides, literally. You can't expand out this way. You gotta work with what you have. So I feel like when Autopia does eventually go, it'll be a worthy sacrifice. I really do feel like it. If what ends up coming into fruition is good, then I feel like Atopia would be proud, you know. I don't know what I'm trying to say. But anyways, Alex, it is time for Mr. Alex to sign off. I believe it is time for me to sign off as well, because I do have to go to a restaurant with my family to eat dinner, so thank you, Mr. T-Will, for joining us today. We had a real blast with you on here.
It was a pleasure being a part of this. Sorry for my mic finagling going on.
No. It's okay. Maybe we'll do it in the future. We'll have other people from the chat come in and join us. But until then,
I would love to do like I would like to bring maybe a few people from chat or some people I know and do like a big Walt Disney World Disneyland discussion, not debate discussion. That'd be worth doing. You know, if we have like a good time, right?
Yeah. We don't really talk much about Walt Disney World. I just came into my mind a while back. We almost focus solely on Disneyland on this show, which, you know, to some Walt Disney World lovers is, you know, kind of sad, but we will be bringing more Walt Disney World here soon, hopefully. But on that note, I'd like to thank you all for joining us today. Again, big thank you to T-Will. Everybody say thank you to T-Will in chat for joining us today.
Thank you, T-Will.
Yeah, thank you, T-Will.
Well, thank you.
And let's see, on that note, we would like to hear all your guys' thoughts on everybody's thoughts on all the topics we discussed. I'm really excited to see what you guys have to say about the Spider-Man attraction that's rumored to be cloned for California Adventure, as well as these new Tomorrowland, Fantasyland rumors that we're hearing. Yeah, comment down below, comment section. Always love reading your guys' comments, even if they're horrible, awful comments, which I don't think we've ever had any horrible, awful comments. But I'd love to get one to read it, you know? That sounds weird to say. But anyways, thank you everybody for joining us today. We hope you all enjoyed, and as always, have a great big beautiful tomorrow.